Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Today, as Israel considers its options for striking back against Iran, President Biden weighs in saying no to an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. All of that as Israel keeps up its attacks on Hezbollah forces in Lebanon, but losing some soldiers in combat. As the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas terror attacks approaches, a new documentary takes a look at the truth of what happened on that tragic day. And here at home, rescue and recovery efforts are still underway after Hurricane Helene dropped trillions of gallons of water on the southeast, now becoming the second deadliest storm of the century. And how you can protect your health from the mistakes of modern medicine. These stories and much more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin in the Middle East, where Israel's retaliation for Iran's massive missile attack could come quickly. But President Biden is objecting to the possibility that Israel could strike Iranian nuclear facilities. And as Israel keeps up its assault on Hezbollah in Lebanon, for the first time, some of their troops have been killed in combat. Paul Strand has more from Jerusalem.
Israeli officials pledged a swift retaliation for Iran's missile attack on Tuesday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has met with top military and civilian leaders to mull over options. Targets could include Iran's oil rigs or even its nuclear facilities as it moves closer to producing nuclear weapons. President Biden was asked if he'd support strikes against those nuclear facilities.
The answer is no. We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do.
Biden said Israel must respond proportionally. After the United Nations Secretary General failed to immediately and specifically condemn Iran for its attack, Israel's foreign minister accused Antonio Guterres of being deeply anti-Israel. Katz declared the UN chief persona non grata in Israel and banned him from entering the country. Wednesday, after Katz's comments, Guterres made this statement.
I again strongly condemn yesterday's massive missile attack by Iran on Israel.
At that same Security Council meeting, Iran's ambassador declared Tuesday's missile attack on Israel a necessary and proportionate response to what he called Israel's continued terrorist aggressive acts. Those include wiping out most of the top leaders of Iran's proxy army, Hezbollah, booby-trapping thousands of Hezbollah's beepers and walkie-talkies to explode, and IDF ground troops invading southern Lebanon to clear out the terror group. 8 of those troops died in skirmishes with Hezbollah fighters this week, their bodies evacuated soon after. But the mission goes on, searching out and destroying terrorist tunnels, infrastructure, and weapons hidden all over southern Lebanon. Iran's president warned that if Israel escalates its war against Hezbollah or comes after Iran itself, they will hit back much harder. Israel's ambassador to the UN says Iran's massive attack already proves its genocidal aims.
This was not just an escalation. It was a direct assault on our very existence.
Almost 10 million Israelis took to shelters as the missiles hurled toward their nation, but for many, faith conquered fear.
We were not afraid. There's someone from above that is watching over us. God is guarding the people of Israel. We have nothing to fear.
Israelis are now observing the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. The high holidays are always a time of heightened alert, even more so in this time of war. Paul Strand, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Paul. Monday is the first anniversary of the October 7th terrorist attack against Israel, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. In memorial of that tragic event, an award-winning French-Israeli filmmaker is releasing a new documentary exposing the truth of what happened. The episode was on Gary Lane's Global Lane. Take a look.
First of all, I live about 20 miles north of Gaza. And on October 7th at 6:30, I was woken up by, like everybody else in Israel, by sirens. I received a phone call at about 7 a.m. from a friend of mine who told me, lock your doors, lock your windows, we are invading. That's how I found out that something big was happening. And since then, we've been, where I live, under Hamas rocket for about 3 to 4 months before the IDF was capable of to stop the firing of rockets, at least in my specific region. But it took me a couple, 3 months to finally decide to make a film about it, because October 7th was a tragedy. It was a massacre. It was a pogrom. It was a kind of a genocide. But on October the 8th, the next day, instead of seeing people with a T-shirt in the streets of New York or Los Angeles saying, I am Israel, stop Hamas, no, they did exactly the opposite. And a lot of students in many universities around the planet and people in the streets started rioting, not on the side of Israel, but exactly on the opposite side, taking the side of the Hamas.
I have viewed the film. I must admit the graphic video and images and the testimonies of the first responders were difficult to bear. What impact did all of it have on you?
What you saw is not 0.5% of what I saw. And I selected among the images that I had to see the mildest. I watched and I saw videos that even in the worst horror films made by Hollywood, you wouldn't dare putting the images off. Because I met with many first responders. And, you know, in Israel, there is a high level of respect for the dead. So the government try as much as possible to not let those images of dead Israelis travel around the planet. So many, I would say 90% of them were censored, taken down from the social networks. But first of all, I got material from the army, and I got also material, I saw material from the cell phones of the first responders who filmed what they saw, who filmed what they discovered. And this is something that I don't even want to describe, but it got me a few nightmares. And even today, months after, I cannot still believe that things like that happen. It's like a nightmare written by Ted Bundy. And actually, we had like 6,000 Ted Bundys going inside Israel to massacre Jews.
Well, after detailing the October 7th massacre, you explore the ideology that led up to this horrific crime, the creation of Hamas as a military wing of the Muslim Brotherhood, funding and support from Iran and Qatar. But you also mentioned that no such thing as a Palestinian nation or people existed. A nationalist movement was actually triggered by global powers, and the Soviet Union was the first one. Tell us more about that.
Every historian who has been really looking in good faith at the events and at the history itself knows that the Palestinian people were invented by Yasser Arafat, Nasser, the president of Egypt, and the KGB in 1964. The reason for this invention at a period of time when people were not talking so much about Israel and the Arabs living in Palestine, who didn't call themselves Palestinians in those days because Palestine was only a region, never been a country, never been a kingdom, never been anything but a region. And the only thing which was in this place as an independent country throughout history was Judea, Samaria, the Kingdom of Israel, and now Israel itself. So in 1964, Nasser was having trouble with putting together all the Arab countries under his personal domination, and he wanted to give it another try. When Yasser Arafat came to him and said, Yasser Arafat, who was born in Egypt, has never been a Palestinian himself, and came up with this terrific idea, let's make the world turn against Israel. Palestinians never wanted a country. They had a plan to destroy Israel for ideological reasons, because a Muslim cannot accept that another Muslim would live under Jewish rule. Today, after October 7, after receiving thousands of rockets, after having had all those murders, those tortures, those rapes inside Israel, and having now the Hezbollah and Iran attacking us for such a long time, Israel said enough.
The film is Pogroms. Where can people view it, Pierre?
Oh, it's going to be out on October 7th for Remembrance Day. First, I'm going to give it for free to everybody on Rumble for 24 hours, just to celebrate, to commemorate October 7th. And then it's going to be on Apple TV. It's going to be on Amazon and Tubi TV and a lot of networks similar to those. Amazon being one of the biggest.
Okay, we can find it just about everywhere. Pierre Rehov, merci beaucoup. Tuda Rabah, thank you for being with us. Shana Tova.
Thank you very much.
Gary's multilingual. Also on this week's episode of The Global Lane, the story of a young Israeli who lost his life on October 7th when he returned to rescue friends under attack at the Nova Music Festival. And Christian pollster George Barna explores how embracing a biblical worldview can improve your mental health. You can see it all on the Global Lane tonight on the CBN News Channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. Coming up, here at home, rescue and recovery efforts underway after Hurricane Helene dropped trillions of gallons of water on the southeast and devastated homes and families across the region. We'll bring you that story when we come back.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
Search and rescue efforts still underway throughout the southeast after Hurricane Helene caused historic flooding across the region. It's now the second deadliest storm this century, with more than 160 people killed and hundreds still missing. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the scene, helping people recover from this massive storm.
Sheer devastation in the southeast. Entire communities decimated from the historic flooding caused by Hurricane Helene. The death toll still climbing and hundreds still missing, including John Norwood's fiance.
We looked outside and there was a 30-foot tall wall of water and rocks and tree debris just coming at us, and it knocked the house straight down with all of us in it. She went one way and I went the other. Last thing I said to her was, "I love you." And that was the last time I saw her.
Their entire neighborhood in Marion, North Carolina was wiped out. John was rescued on this stretcher, his legs crushed. They're still looking for Julie.
She is loved by so many. She's so strong.
Lauren Meiniger says they're still searching for her mother-in-law.
She's taken on children that aren't hers, and she's just the strongest woman I know, so it's hard not to hold on to that hope. I pray every day, every second that she's found and she's safe.
After hitting Florida's Gulf Coast last week as a Category 4 hurricane, Helene moved through Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, drenching the area with unprecedented rain. Days later, many are still stranded without power, cell service, or running water. Patricia Miranda is using creek water to flush her toilets and wash clothes.
We don't have nowhere to go.
President Biden has ordered 1,000 troops to the region. They join the more than 6,000 National Guard troops from 12 states already there. Yesterday, he surveyed the damage from the air, flying over the hardest hit areas of western North Carolina.
I'm here to say the United States, the nation, has your back. The nation has your back. We're not leaving till you're back on your feet.
CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground in Asheville, passing out water, food boxes, hygiene kits, and other supplies.
It's particularly important that we be here because due to the nature of this storm, it knocked out water, it knocked out electricity, it knocked out cell phones. There are an amazing number of people that are trapped up in the mountains or who have lost everything, and it's not being able to be covered because there's so little cell coverage that the word can't get out. So it's critical that we get that message out.
Keep our team in your prayers and keep the people of North Carolina in your prayers. They really desperately need it right now.
Operation Blessing is also at work in Valdosta, Georgia. Volunteers are serving hot food in the parking lot of Anchor Church and helping homeowners recover from the devastation. At Belinda Cobb's damaged home, they're cleaning up debris and putting a tarp on the roof. And giving her comfort as she breaks down retelling the story of praying on the phone with her son, whose path was blocked by fallen debris.
When he said, "Mom, I don't think I'm going to make it," we prayed again before he got out of the car. And I know God lifted that tree or either gave him the strength to do it. I don't know which, but basically it was God either way. I'm sorry, I'm not doing very good.
I feel like you need a hug real fast.
Son, I'm so nasty. I've not had a shower in days.
I'm nasty. Are you kidding me?
You're so sweet.
And Operation Blessing's international relief team is also on the ground in North Carolina. This is the first time they've been deployed to the United States to help disaster relief efforts. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Wow. Thank you, Jenna. Just heartbreaking. Well, still ahead, we're going to bring you a look at some medical mistakes that could be putting your health at risk. We'll have that story right after this. For generations, Americans have relied on doctors and public health professionals to keep them healthy. In recent years, a number of medical mistakes has led to the erosion of public trust. Medical reporter Lori Johnson reports on these mistakes and explains what steps patients can take to protect their own health.
We are dealing with an epidemic of mistrust.
Dr. Marty McCary says during COVID-19, public health leaders lost credibility, touting experimental policies like long-term school closures and banning visitors from dying hospital patients.
That was a human rights violation. Nobody should be prevented, regardless of the circumstance, from holding the hand of their dying loved one in the hospital. But the medical establishment has not apologized.
In his book, Blind Spots, McCary warns that public health officials made other mistakes over the years. For example, advising parents not to let their children eat peanuts.
It turns out that peanut avoidance in the first few years of life doesn't prevent peanut allergies, it causes them. And so ignited the modern day peanut allergy epidemic.
Another poor decision, according to McCary, is the misguided approach to pain pills.
The opioid epidemic was caused by the medical establishment putting out a dogma that opioids were not addictive.
And he's critical of longtime financial influence affecting how medical experts advise Americans on their diet.
The obesity and diabetes epidemic may have in part been caused by the dogma of the food pyramid that was financed by the food industry.
These types of errors, according to Dr. McCary, often stem from a wrong way of thinking that not just doctors, but all of us can fall into.
We tend to believe what we hear first, not because it's more logical than new information, but simply because we heard it first. And that sort of intellectual laziness means that our brains will subconsciously reject new information or reframe it to fit what we already believe.
McCary cites that as the reason why 80% of doctors today deny older women highly beneficial hormone replacement therapy.
There was a medical dogma propagated 22 years ago by the National Institutes of Health, where a doctor claimed it caused breast cancer when the data never supported it.
And why too many doctors continue to overprescribe antibiotics, even as new data show these drugs kill important gut bacteria.
They train the immune system. They even produce serotonin, which is involved in brain health and mood. And so this microbiome is central to health. It's been in a blind spot of modern medicine. We don't talk about it much.
Another blind spot, doctors believing they create a suicide risk by not helping young people change their gender.
The worst thing you can do in science is to tell a parent or a patient something with such absolutism, saying that it's scientifically supported when it's not. And it turns out that the increased suicide risk is driven not by the gender dysmorphia diagnosis that's assigned to the kid, but rather the underlying mental health disturbances.
McCary adds that health professionals and the public need to question and research certain long-held beliefs that could be based on wrong information.
We need to recognize that our brains have that human tendency and then temporarily and actively suspend our biases, because we all have biases, we have to acknowledge that, and suspend those biases as we consider new information objectively.
And while pointing out the need for change, McCary warns against overreaction.
We don't want to create hysteria in the general public about the medical profession. If you're in an emergent or urgent situation, do whatever the doctor tells you. But when it comes to chronic abdominal pain, or what's actually causing our epidemic of autism or autoimmune diseases, or the general inflammatory conditions that are now epidemic in society, we don't have a good answer for you.
McCary sees modern diet and lifestyle as the most likely culprits and points people back to a more spiritual approach.
It's almost as if we're now rediscovering that many of the biblical principles around health is where we need to get back to. It's not a matter of discovering things. It's a matter of reminding us of our great heritage of good health.
And that includes eating whole foods the way God created them instead of processed. Research also shows practices like prayer, fasting, and being part of a community can result in a number of physical benefits. So while public health guidance can be confusing and even wrong at times, evaluating recommendations with an open mind and through a spiritual lens can help. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thank you, Lori. Coming up, raising money to protect endangered animals through artwork made by animals. That's right. We'll have that story next.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
And finally, the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore has come up with a unique way to raise money for their conservation efforts. The zoo sells artwork created by some of their animals, including penguins, otters, giraffes, chimpanzees, and African elephants. The staff uses non-toxic paints, with the animals often walking over streaks or smears of the paint and then creating unique designs on paper. Animal lovers who buy the art also get a photograph of the animal. The zoo says 100% of the proceeds go to education, animal care, and conservation efforts for threatened and endangered species. You gotta love that. Well, that's gonna do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I apologize for my voice today. I have come down with a cold. But remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. God bless you.